Round three between Milwaukee and Toronto. The first two games between these two teams felt like a heavyweight championship. Will tonight feel the same way? Let's welcome in Matt Velasquez from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel for more insight. Bucks became the first team in NBA history to have 12 different players score 8 or more points in Friday night's win. What does that tell you about the depth of this team?
I mean, the Bucks just have a lot of guys who can fill in, put the ball in the bucket, and do it in a lot of different ways. I mean, they were throwing out kind of weird combinations. Obviously, when you get up by as many as 46, you're trying to, keep everybody fresh for the back-to-back and throw different players out there. But no matter who they put out there and what the combinations they had, guys were moving the ball well, trusting each other, and finding ways to score. And so, that deep level of trust, being able to translate up and down the lineup, is definitely a positive for Milwaukee so far this season.
It's one thing for that to happen in a blowout win, but a lot of teams rely on their best player to take the last shot at the end of close games. With the Bucks, we've seen that's not always the case. Outside of Giannis, who does this team have the most trust in taking a late-game shot?
I think if it's a last shot of the game, especially if they need a three, you'd probably see the ball in Chris Middleton's hands. They've done that a couple times so far this year. If it's crunch time and they need somebody to create something off the dribble, then you might see the ball in Eric Bledsoe's hands, maybe running a pick and roll with Giannis, and then kind of creating off that. He had a bunch of games early in the season where he was doing some things in the last few minutes of close games to help them close it out. But Giannis is still a pretty good closer in his own right. He's shooting a high percentage in those crunch time minutes, getting a lot of dunks, getting to the free throw line. And, in recent games, he's put down some jumpers, too. So they have a lot of options, and you can never count out, obviously, Brook Lopez, chucking up 30-footers and kind of cutting teams deep with those shots.
There are so many positive stats surrounding this team right now, but the one that matters most, they've won 9 of their last 10, approaching the halfway point of the season. Are they all starting to feel some of the weight of raised expectations because they seem to be playing loose?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they're really affected by that. I think they've really kind of hunkered down and kind of kept that game at a time mentality, as cliche as it might be. I think it kind of helps that we're here in Milwaukee. This is a smaller market. This isn't New York. It's not LA. It's not Chicago or Golden State or any of those other places where maybe the microscope would be a little bit more heated. But for them, they're just kind of playing loose, having fun, doing what they've been doing all season, and just kind of rolling as the wins come through.
And it looks like that train is just going to roll through the season. Matt Velasquez, appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
The stat sheet, the two games that you've played them, highest volume of shots for Serge in against these guys. Is there something that they're doing that's basically saying, Serge, go ahead?
Well, they take their Lopez, especially in their 5-man, and drop them into the front of the lane, front of the rim at all times, and they're trying to cut off any penetration into the paint with size, and they're willing to let you kick it back out to your big and go from there.
And I guess the corollary to that is when I look at the points in the paint, you guys are well under your average against them too.
Yeah, they one of their philosophies is sell out on the paint protection, right? And especially guys that they wouldn't consider great three-point shooters are going to really pack the paint against them. So, our challenge will be to score some paint points and get to the free throw line tonight. And we're going to have to shoot over the top of them, and we're going to have to make some.
What do you do about Lopez defensively? Would you go small on him? I mean, he's basically the world's biggest two-guard at this point, right?
Even best shooters in the league, right? I mean, without a doubt, the way he's shooting them and where he's shooting them from and how quick he's releasing them and all the – I'm more fascinated all the styles he's got. He'll pump fake you and slide step you and slide left, slide right, shoot him from 35 feet. And he had a game up there. He really was like a difference maker. We were just about ready to get that thing under control a couple times, and he hit a couple shot clock ending bombs that were like, I wouldn't say they were soul destroying, but they hurt our spirit a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, for the moment. Yeah.
If as Michael said, if you go with a smaller guy, do you fear that all of a sudden he turns into a big man again? He goes down
well, he's certainly capable of that, and he's been doing that a little bit more, either via the slow drive back down, or in a pick and roll situation where they'll advance it forward or behind and punch it into him, and he's still really good there, right? He was. I don't know. My memory's not very good, but it seems like not very long ago they were throwing it in for 30-point nights on the block all night with Brooklyn, right? So he's still very good there with the right-handed hook and his size and all that stuff. Yeah, we worry about all that because the worst part is if you send a big out to him, then your rim protection's suffering, right? And they're killing people at the rim. If you send a small on him, then you're I don't know what you're doing with your other big, right? Yeah. It's almost like we'd end up with those matchups a year ago with Serge guarding J.R. Smith or something like that, and that wasn't very good either. So I don't know. We're just going to try to play a pretty straightforward defensive package, and ask our guys to do multiple things. We gotta ask our fives to protect the rim if there's penetration coming, and skedaddle back out there as fast as they can to challenge the threes.
How's Kyle doing?
He's doing very well. Yes, thank you. He will not play tonight, but he's doing very well.
And Jonas? How's Jonas doing?
Jonas is doing pretty good, right? He's still a ways away, but he's pretty active, right? I think we're maybe ahead of schedule. I think they originally said 8 to 12 weeks, but he's out of the cast a little earlier than we thought. He's just got a little kind of splint on there. He's in full practice as long as it isn't contact. He's running up and down, he's shooting, he's handling the ball, all those kind of things. So he's doing good, too.
Do you have any idea? We're at another back-to-back. Do you have any idea about Kawhi?
Do not at this point. We'll take it and see how this game goes and see how he feels after tonight, and planning on rolling with him, right? Unless something changes after the game tonight.
How do you feel this conference is sort of shaken out compared to how the season began? There were a lot of cracks about the Eastern Conference, sort of a second-tier conference, and yet we see teams that have records that are as good as the West, performances that, obviously winning against the West. What do you make of the field?
Well, I think the field is very good. I've said this before. I think the East gets a little too much slighted a little bit, and it's probably because some of the bottom teams will even though they're dangerous on any night, we'll have some like last night. You'll have a game that's 30 at halftime or something like that, and you don't see that often on the other side, Western Conference. I think obviously they run, even now that Phoenix is healthy, they're running 1 through 15 pretty tough night in, night out. But I think the teams are really good. I think all the way through, there's some dangerous teams that I think will line up and look the Western Conference teams right in the eyes. I mean, I really do.
Do you think that the run heading west sort of energized some of the teams that they go, that guy's got his foot off?
But it certainly should have. It should have energized organizations in the East, right? It should have, you look and say, well, Toronto's up there and Milwaukee, and we can play with those teams if we can upgrade a little bit and develop our younger players a little quicker and things like that. I think it certainly should have energized and has, yeah.
The Bucks traded for George Hill right when they were in Toronto. Since that last month, the Bucks that second unit has really turned into a strong defensive unit. You've been a part of some special bench units in Toronto. Just what does it mean when a bench can forge some sort of identity, whether it's offensive or defensive?
Well, we went through it last year. We had that great second unit last year, and it was huge for us. It carried us really, really a long ways deep into the season with being able to crack off as many wins as we could. I mean, there was a stretch there in March that our bench was coming in midway through the third quarter and never coming out again. So it was giving our veteran guys some rest, and they were just playing that good. I mean, I'm impressed with the roster this organization has put together. There's a lot of guys they throw in there. They're all producing, and then that wave of guys goes out, and sometimes they go to the third wave of guys, and those are still some pretty good players coming in there. So they've done a good job.
Raptors and Bucks, the game we're getting ready for right now. Giannis ready to lead Milwaukee. The Raptors got blown out by the Spurs last time out. How are we expecting them to respond? That's the question. But welcome back to State Farm Saturday nights. What are you expecting from Toronto? Because again, San Antonio went down there, very emotional game for Kawhi Leonard. get blown out in that one. Not expecting that to happen 2 games in a row for the Raptors.
No, I really expect them to come out and play with a lot of passion. This is a game that they care a great deal about, I think. When you saw Nick Nurse and what he was saying about this Milwaukee team, they're very keyed in on Brook Lopez and his impact. Used the word soul-destroying about some of the threes that Brook hit against them previously, so I think they'll be keyed in on that. For me, one of the big things to watch is the points off the bench. Milwaukee really struggles there, 26th in the NBA off the bench.
I'm really going to be key to see what Toronto's defense looks like, especially behind the three-point line. Milwaukee Bucks take 39 threes a game. They hit 13 of them. That's second in the league in both categories. So the three-point line will be the storyteller for me. If Toronto can switch the screen and roll, keep Milwaukee off the three-point line and out of transition, they have a very good chance of winning this ball game.
You heard Nick Nurse also talk about trying to defend Brook Lopez. That's become a thing where, okay, defending Giannis, everyone kind of knows, keep him out of the paint, and he's going to do what he's going to do. But Brook Lopez is a different monster because your 5 is not used to defending a 5 like that. Brendan, as a guy that played the center position, how would you defend Brook Lopez if that was your assignment?
Well, defending Brook Lopez it's not Brook Lopez that I'm actually worried about. It's what I'm used to doing as a 5. All my life as a big man, I've been taught your job is to protect the paint. You're the biggest guy on the floor. So I have to fight myself, my tendencies to drift away from Brook Lopez and help defenders and take myself out of position to get back to the three-point line. And also I have to figure out how to guard Brook Lopez differently as far as running him off the three-point line. Most centers aren't used to running guys off the three-point line, or what I like to say, closing out to touch. We're just not used to doing it. It's not what we do. So as a 5, you're not per se used to guarding Brook Lopez one-on-one. It's not about guarding Brook Lopez one-on-one. It's about how do you recover to him in help situations.
And Nick got into some specifics also talking about what happens when you switch. And it's not all that long ago, as he pointed out, Brook was actually able to score quite a bit on the block as well. He's got really good hands, can finish with a jump hook around the basket. So if you switch, it's not above his pay grade for Brook to take a small down to the basket and score down there as well. So it is a really tough cover for everyone, and I know it's something that Nick and his coaches have spent a lot of time on.
Milwaukee, they've won 9 of their last 10. Arguably one of the hottest teams in the league if you factor in the Houston Rockets and what they're doing right now. But this has been sustained all season for Milwaukee. Why are they so consistent now, Brendan?
They're so consistent because they have a lot of guys that can make shots. It's not a one-man band.
Okay.
It's not just Giannis. They're consistent because of the people that we've talked about earlier in the show. When you talk about Bledsoe and Middleton, along with the Greek Freak and Brook Lopez, they have those type of players that offer them versatility. Malcolm Brogdon as well. He goes under the radar a lot. He's very underrated. So they have, I think, better players, and they have a better system that encourages ball movement. And ball movement is a lot harder to guard than one man with the ball and everybody loading up trying to guard him. So I think when you throw in all those factors, you have a much better Milwaukee team from a schematic standpoint.
And you also have a dynamic duo in Middleton and Giannis that are finding themselves a little bit. I believe this is the best duo in the Eastern Conference in terms of fit with one another. And what they've done is take themselves to an altogether different level this year, in large part because of the system that Bud wants to play. But to your point, they have 4 players shooting better than 36% from 3 right now, and that does make the game an awful lot easier.
Certainly for the Toronto Raptors, they're a team that's adept to changing defensively and being able to switch and all of those things. Kawhi Leonard, a big part of that. Pascal Siakam, a big part of that. How is their defensive scheme going to work against the Milwaukee Bucks and their three-point shooting? We're going to find out in moments from now.